Folks, it is finally that time. Championship week is here. That is for most of us. And I got 10 names, 5 pitchers, and 5 hitters that are going to help you bring that championship home this week on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Fantasy Baseball Fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, riding solo today, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things, once again, make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify, that allows 5-star ratings and reviews. We would truly appreciate it if you do that for us as well. And lastly, but what's most important, join Matt and I on the Insider's Track. Listen, whether it's championship week this week, next week, you got to join Matt and I because we're going to make sure we help you win it. And, we're going to have so much fun stuff planned for this offseason. So check us out in the Insider's Track. Links in the bio wherever you're listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And all right, guys, I mentioned it up top. Championship week is here for most leagues. I know there are some leagues that played out until the final week of the season. I advise against that. The final week of the season scheduling gets crazy. A lot of playoff teams sit, some of their better players, a lot of the best pitchers don't pitch in the last week. So, this is pretty much it for most of us. I know I'm in the championship a couple of leagues this week, and I know I'm playing to be in the championship in a couple of leagues going into that final week, right? So whether, either or, a lot of these ads are still going to apply to you. And guys, this is what we do it for. I wish everyone luck. And I hope you are, even with football going on, still playing your heart out to win those fantasy baseball championships, because I know I am, right? So let's get on with this first guy. Let's talk about Emmett Sheehan of those Los Angeles Dodgers, starting pitcher. I know we've been talking about him a bit down the stretch here, but he's been really, really good. Last outing on September 9th against Colorado. 7 innings, got the win, 9 strikeouts, 1 earned run, and 0.57 whip in that one. He was pretty solid against Pittsburgh in his start on September 3rd. He went 4.2 innings, gave up 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 150 whip. The outing before that on August 25th against Cincinnati, 7 innings, got the win, 10 strikeouts, no earned runs, and 0.43 whip. He gets the Phillies. It looks like it's going to be on Tuesday. So it is a little bit of a tougher team, but Trey Turner's on the IL, so they are missing one of their stud hitters. I think Sheehan could handle it. It's going to be potentially a 2-start week, but I doubt it with the way that the Dodgers rotation lines up. And they have an off day too. So then if you do play that last week, it looks like he gets the Diamondbacks. I just love what Sheehan does. He's, got the strikeout stuff, gets a lot of chases, whiffs. He's in, very high percentile when it comes to those categories. Gets good extension. The underlying stuff looks good too as far as xERA, the underlying stuff for ERA, those ERA indicators, point in the right direction. And even underlying stuff for batting average looks really good too. Sheehan's a big guy, 6'5", he's young, he's 25 years old. And he's just got good stuff. Like I said, that fastball sits at about 96 on average. Batters hit 245 against it this year. The slider is fantastic, and so is the changeup. 2 really good secondary pitches that he goes to. So I like what Sheehan does. Got a lot of really good results in the minors too. Got really, really high K percentages in the minors. So really made hitters look silly down there through his minor league career. I just think Sheehan's going to be good to end the year, And I think he's going to be somebody, if he has that rotation spot in the Dodgers rotation in 2026, I'm going to be, trying to snag him, where I can. But let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk a little bit about Casey Mize of the Detroit Tigers, starting pitcher. Now, Mize has had an up and down year But for the most part, he's been useful. On the year, it's up to a 3.83 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP, over 131 innings for Casey Mize. But he also has 118 strikeouts. I don't know if I said that or not. But Casey Mize's last two starts have been pretty stellar. Against pretty good teams. The Mets on September 3rd, Mize 5 innings, 1 earned run, got the win, 3 strikeouts, and had a 1 WHIP. And then against the Yankees on September 9th in the stadium, too. 6 innings, got the win, 8 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, and had an 0.67 WHIP. And he gets Cleveland on Tuesday. That's a nice little matchup for Casey Mize. 57% owned on Yahoo. And listen, it's been like a really it's been a tough go of it for Mize, since his I believe he was taken number 1 overall, right? If I'm not mistaken. That was a long time ago at this point. Yeah, he was taken first overall. That's back by the Tigers in 2018. And Mize has never really had great results in the bigs. And is finally, gotten at least something going here this year. He did have a decent year back in 2021 where he made 30 starts. But you know what? I'll say this year, arguably, he had a better year that year. But still, a nice showing for the 28-year-old. Actually was an all-star this year, Casey Mize was. So you know what? You just love to see a kid like this at least have another solid year before everything is said and done for him. And with the start coming up on Tuesday, it's just kind of the point in the season where, hey, he's been good of late. If you need the start, he's 57% owned on Yahoo. You could run him out there. It looks like he will get Atlanta after that. Atlanta's a good team on any given night. They can go out there and they can hit you around. So I definitely like the Cleveland start better than the Atlanta start if it's a set it and forget it kind of league where you have to just get him in there. That makes it a tougher call. Hey, listen, he's been good of late. If you have to do it, do it. But let's move on. Another, wow, it's weird to say veteran, but I guess he's been around long enough. You can almost say it. Luis Gil of the New York Yankees. Another guy, hey, listen, it's just like I said, we got to just stream him at this point in the year if we have to, right? Gil's been pretty solid this year. I want to say he's been really, really good outside of his first start, at least when it comes to preventing runs. The whip is something Gil's not known for at all. His control has been abysmal since he's, come up to the bigs. But it looks like he gets a start on Wednesday at Minnesota. Minnesota's just, hasn't really been, a threat as far as, when it's coming to pitchers, since the All-Star break, they made a lot of big trades right around that time and gave up a lot of bats. I think it's just Buxton over there. If he's even healthy at this point, I don't even know. But that lineup does not scare me. I think Gil can go out there and have a decent game. On the season, Gil has 8 starts, 4 wins, a 2.83 ERA, a 140 WHIP, 41 innings pitched, and 34 strikeouts. So with that being said, he's been solid. And, literally since his first outing this year at Miami, where he got hit around a little bit, he's been really good at run prevention. The strikeouts haven't been there, but he's pitched at least 5 innings in every start since then, which makes him eligible to get those wins. And he's pitched 6 innings in his last 2 starts. So I like Luis Gil if it's not even for this just upcoming week. And let's see where he ends up, where that if he has another matchup, who it's going to be against. He gets the White Sox. Yeah, so this is a nice pickup. If you could pick up Gil, it's going to be, and you happen to play into the following week because it's not a 2-start week. It's going to be that following week where Gil gets that start. I definitely add him in those formats. And then even if you just get this Minnesota start, I like it as well. And if we're talking what we should be talking and what I'm talking about is just on a week-to-week basis, I'll take Gil. I'll take Gil number 1, probably then Sheehan Mize. If I'm talking about those big 3 before we move on and we talk about a couple of more pitchers, then we get into bats. I got Harrison Bader. Those names and more coming up next. No, and all right, guys, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. So the NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I personally love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. They got everything, all sorts of options, including player props, building a same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, because that's what we're really doing, right? At the end of the day, we're all just worried about our fantasy teams. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to, place your first $5 bet. And all right, guys, I got a couple more friends I need to talk to you about, and these friends are over at Prize Picks, right? This episode is actually brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app, where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn these takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing Prize Picks a lot lately, and it's just such a fun way to stay locked in for the season. I love checking projections like Josh Allen for more than or less than 270 passing yards, or Saquon Barkley for more than or less than 1 rushing TD. And the best part, even if one of your picks misses, Prize Picks invented the flex play, so you can still double your money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And then, all right, guys, just one little last thing for here. We need to ask you guys. It's really an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of our $10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out, guys. All right, let's keep things moving because, like I said, it's championship week for a lot of us. And if not, you're on your way, and we want to make sure you get there. Let's talk about another young pitcher. Let's talk about Connolly Anthony. I almost talked about Roman Anthony. Connolly Early, right? Young starting pitcher for the Red Sox, got the call last week. And he was really, really good in his debut, right? So the kid went 5 innings. He struck out 11, and he was just looked really dominant, right? So it was against the Athletics, and that was on September 9th. He had a 1-2-0 whip in that start as well, and he got the win. So it looks like he's getting 2 starts this week. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to start on Tuesday against the Athletics. And then let me check my calendar just to make sure the dates on this line up correctly, because it might not be too. Let's see. So it looks like he's going to pitch Tuesday against the Athletics, and then potentially, on Sunday against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Might not be one of the best options out there. It's 2 teams that could hit on any given night. I just think there's so little time, left in the season for these teams to, adjust to a kid like this. And with Connolly Early, he's been productive, on the season in the minors as well. Which I'll break down a little bit right now. We'll get into that here as well. Because I honestly wasn't really privy on Early to myself with Tolley, who Boston called up, and we seen a lot of big time pitching prospects called up this year. But Early himself, in the minors for Boston, 100 innings this year, a 2.60 ERA, 132 strikeouts, a 110 whip. Made a lot of strides, really switched up his delivery a little bit, made a lot of adjustments. And he's a big kid. He's 6'3", 195. He's a lefty. So let's just throw him out there. Not my favorite guy, of the day, but 9% owned here for, Connolly early. If you missed out on the other guys I talked about a little bit earlier, we got a potentially a 2-start week from the young kid here. Let's move on to the last arm of today's episode. Let's talk about Joey Cantillo, and that is, he's a starting pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians. And he's been solid, this year, been, kind of in and out of rotations. But just good. 10 starts, 5 wins on the season for Cantillo, a 3.36 ERA, 1.31 whip, 80 innings, and 92 strikeouts. His last start was monstrous on September 9th against Kansas City. 8 innings, got the win, 5 strikeouts, no earned runs, and had a 0.5 whip in that one. The start before that on September 3rd for Joey Cantillo had 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 1 earned run, a 117 whip, and got the win. He gets the Detroit Tigers on Tuesday in Detroit. It's a good park to pitch in. Detroit has not been mashing, as much of late as they were earlier in the year. Cantillo is 15% owned on Yahoo, so I'd go out there and pick him up. Honestly, like him better than early. Definitely up there with Heel and Sheehan. For me, personally, and the fact that he's only 15% owned is really nice. The leagues where I'm still active, honestly, I might snag him, to be honest with you, going into next week there, just to throw him in the lineup and see how it plays out. But Joey Cantillo has been pretty good down the stretch this year. We could even do the last 30 days. The last 30 days for Cantillo, 19 innings, 17 strikeouts, 2 wins, 0.95 ERA, and a 1 whip. He's been great. Go at him now. Let's do one bat, and then we'll see where we're at. Let's talk Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader, man, it's his time of year. I feel like Harrison Bader is just always raking, whether it's the end of the season or the playoffs, right? So Harrison Bader, actually 133 games played on the year, 288 batting average, 55 runs, 16 homers, 53 RBIs, 10 steals, 31% owned on Yahoo. And this is just what Bader does. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed. He's been actually leading off for Philly. Of late, actually, it's been, the last 5 games, Bader's been leading off, and that's for, good reason. He's just been on fire. We'll do the last week for Bader. He's hitting 515 for 30. Wow. That's crazy. 7 runs, a homer, 4 RBIs. And then if we even do the last 2 weeks, Bader is 23 for 54, which is good for a 426 batting average with 13 runs, 2 homers, 9 RBIs. You just add him. You just add him and you ride the wave, and you just hope he keeps producing because he's in a good spot to steal some bases, to, get driven in, score some runs, potentially even get some RBIs too. I like Harrison Bader, man. He's been around for a while. We know who he is, and there's just nothing to guess about here. And you just ride the wave. You ride the wave while he's hot because he's been known to do this before. It's not like a kind of out of nowhere kind of guy. We know who Harrison Bader is, and this is just something he could do. He goes on these nice little stretches where, potentially could bring you to fantasy glory. But before we move on and we talk about Jose Caballero, Kerry Carpenter, and then a couple of surprise names that could potentially bring you to a fantasy baseball championship, those names and more coming up next. And all right, guys, I need to talk to you about my friends over at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works, right? There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. So that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people, and it's not just hype, right? This supplement is clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Whether you are at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in 3 to 6 months when you're using Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. Come on, that's a great deal, guys. When you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. And once again, guys, you're going to go to Nutrafol.com and use the promo code Locked On MLB to get all of that done today. And then, all right, guys, let's keep it pushing. Let's get these names out of the way. Let's talk about Jose Caballero. Headed over to the Yankees, was around that All-Star break, kind of deal. And he's been good. He's been kind of getting in that lineup, they've been trying to get him in there regularly. It's been tough, but Volpe has been dealing with, a little bit of a shoulder issue. And I think Caballero is a little bit better than Volpe anyway, to be honest with you. Caballero brings that speed to the lineup that the Yankees need. And then, he's been sealing those bags. On September 11th, Caballero went 2 for 3 with a run, an RBI, 2 steals. On September 12th, Caballero 1 for 4 with a run and a steal. And, he's been hitting near the end of that lineup. Good chance for runs. Caballero has 46 steals in 116 games on the year. So if you need steals and runs, that's kind of where I'd lean into Caballero for. His 20% owned on Yahoo. And he has great eligibility on the Yahoo platform as well. He has second, third, short, and outfield. So that's a nice little spot where, you can kind of plug and play him, in your lineups. If, you need just, if you need speed, if you need, like I said, runs, if you need plays, a Swiss Army knife, plays all those positions for you. So that's really what Caballero is. And it's a good team. The Yankees, can go out there and score a lot of runs on any given night. And, like I said, if Caballero doesn't even start, sometimes he gets thrown in the game. On September 6th, didn't even start the game, wound up getting a steal in that contest. Stole another bag on September 2nd with 1 for 1 in that game as well. So he's been playing of late, the Yankees are playing right now as I'm recording. He was on a 4-game hit streak. If he doesn't get the hit here on Sunday night, the hit streak ends. But, hey, listen, he's been hot of late. So ride the hot hand here with Jose Caballero of the New York Yankees. Let's move on to a Detroit Tiger. Let's talk about Kerry Carpenter. I had high hopes for Kerry Carpenter this year, and he I don't want to say he disappointed, but he kind of just did the regular Kerry Carpenter thing. He didn't take a step forward, but he's still been solid. 118 games played on the year, 258 batting average, 65 runs, 25 homers, 61 RBIs, a steal. He's been good. He's been playing of late. He's played in every single game in their last 7 games played. He's homered in 2 of those. He has 6 RBIs in the last 7 games. Bunch of hits. He's hitting really well. So let's even do the last week so we can give you those exact numbers. Hitting 318 over the last 7 days. Kerry Carpenter is, which is 7 hits and over 22 at-bats, 5 runs, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. You ride the hot wave this time of year, and it's actually pretty cool that Kerry Carpenter's only 57% owned, which means he's probably out there in a couple of leagues where you guys are listening. They get Cleveland this week, which, isn't a fantastic pitching staff. They kind of just got some scrappy pitchers at the moment. Nobody that really worries me too much. And then, Kerry Carpenter, I really just want to see him take some strides forward in the right direction going into 2026. And it's really cool to see him doing it. And he's still fairly young. He's hitting in a good spot in the lineup, right? He's been hitting 3rd in that lineup, 2nd on some nights. And, we just go out there and add him. We just go out there and add him right now. And we kind of just ride the wave. And we hope Kerry Carpenter can bring us to some fantasy glory here, this week down the stretch. Got a couple more names lined up here. These were some names, some little surprise names, and the first one here is Daylen Lile. He is the one of the outfielders for the Washington Nationals. And just a guy who's been, pretty solid, down the stretch here. 78 games played on the year for Lyle. 283 batting average, 43 runs, 5 homers, 30 RBIs, 8 steals. And he's just been really good. You're talking about pretty much the last month. Lyle has been just tearing it up. So let's do the last 30 days so we can kind of break down these numbers here. So over the last 30 days, Lyle's hitting 337, which is 28 hits over 83 at bats, 16 runs, 3 homers, 12 RBIs, and 3 steals. Lyle, somebody I'm not super familiar with myself. Just somebody that's been hot, and it's probably a little bit of a deeper league play here. Oh, and it's up to 38% owned. So, excuse me, not super deep league, but where you can add him right now. The speed's legitimate. He's in the 91st percentile of sprint speed. The power isn't something I think is super, super legit, but the batting average, he has a 302 expected batting average, which, is really, really nice. So if you want somebody that, he's actually been hitting 4th in the Nationals lineup too. So some runs, some RBIs aren't out of the question, a little bit of power, speed here. Lyle, add him, man. Add him where you can right now. He's actually just hot. So ride the wave with this kid, and he gets a double header in Atlanta on Tuesday, so you can still kind of get that sneaky ad and get potentially double production that day as well. I like him. I like the kid. I'd go out there and snag him where I can. He's 22 years old. Forgive my ignorance, but I do not think he's a big time prospect or anything like that. But he was drafted back in 2021. By the Nationals themselves. So add him now. Sneaky little ad here down the stretch for the next week or so if you're playing into, the really dead end of the season here. But let's talk about our last guy. It's going to be Mr. Ernie Clement of those Toronto Blue Jays, another little Swiss Army knife guy here. Clement has first, second, third shortstop eligibility on Yahoo. He's 23% owned. And just another guy that's been hot of late. Just a solid year here for Clement. 143 games played, 277 batting average, 73 runs, 9 homers, 43 RBIs, and 5 steals. And Clement is just, like I said, been hot of late. We want to juice the orange and get as much out of these guys that we can here. So, especially if you're in a redraft league, drop anybody that hasn't been playing good over the last, if someone hasn't been hitting for the last month, I don't care who they are, get them off your team. But the last 30 days or last 14 days here for Clement, it's been 324 batting average, 7 runs, no homers, 3 RBIs, a steal. He's been hitting 7th in this Blue Jays lineup, and, the Blue Jays just themselves have been pretty good. His last 2 games, Clement has had multi-hit efforts in both of them. On September 13th, 2 for 4 from Clement with 2 runs. On September 14th, he went 2 for 4 with a run and 3 RBIs. And then even had a multi-hit game on September 10th, went 2 for 3 in that one as well. So I'm just snagging Clement where I need somebody that has nice little eligibility, give me a little bit of batting average, potentially, a little bit of runs here or there. But that's really about it. He's once again 23% owned on Yahoo, and that is Ernie Clement. And guys, before I wrap things up here, I just want to say, as we end, the fantasy baseball season, a huge shout out to our everydayers and listeners. Just anyone who, listens to the podcast at all. Matt and I love doing this. We love being able to talk to you guys, 5 times a week, especially in season, and just giving you guys the knowledge. I hope a lot of you guys have, taken our information. It's helped lead you to, some playoff berths here. And hopefully we get some Locked On Fantasy Baseball championships. If we've helped you made the playoffs, or if we've helped you win a championship in the past, if you're fighting for a championship this year, sound off in the comments. Let us know, because we love to do this. We love to hear the good results. And if you're still fighting, the biggest thing I could say to you is, as I've been preaching throughout the whole episode, is don't be afraid to cut the dead weight this time of year. And keeper or dynasty, it might be a little bit harder. But if you're playing in a redraft league, guys, just get rid of anybody on your roster that isn't helping at this point. It's no reason, especially if you're in a playoff, a championship week, to sit back and say, they'll get it going. No, it's nope. Just get any of these guys I talked about today, anyone that's got a hot hand, get them into your lineups, and just ride the wave. That's the best way I can say it. And guys, good luck to you all. And, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And for your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And once again, guys, shout out to our everydayers and listeners. We appreciate you all. So, guys, once again, good luck in your matchups this week. And until next time, so yeah.